Hey, you. Yeah, you. Welcome to the Malaka podcast. Crime doesn't pay. Now, this is according to the Free Dictionary. Lawbreakers do not benefit from their actions. For example, Steve didn't think it mattered that he stole a candy bar, but he's learned the hard way that crime does not pay. This maxim organization as a slogan of the FBI and given wide currency by the cartoon character Dick Tracy was first recorded in 1927. There have been numerous jocular plays on it, as in Woody Allen's screenplay for Take the Money and Run. I think crime pays. The hours are good. You travel a lot. Well, back to reality. In the end, crime doesn't really pay. Why should it? I mean, doing a crime is just basically taking the shortcut. And we all know what happens when you take a shortcut. You end up getting more fucking lost. And it sucks. Because all you want to do is just get something out of the way. You just want to do something and hopefully it'll benefit you financially. And all you want to do is just live a better life. But you don't feel like working for it. And that's like a lot of people today. They just feel that they can do, videos on the internet and just become a superstar. Now, obviously, that's not breaking the law, but a lot of people, it's not good enough for them. They actually have to leave the house and make an effort to go steal something, or maybe scam somebody, or do whatever it takes to get a fast amount of money for doing absolutely nothing. Or not even so much nothing, just actually getting out there and causing a crime. But the chain reaction it causes is pretty bad. I mean, think about it. If you go to a store, like I said before, you steal something, you're going to affect that person's business. You got to live with that. Now you got to live with the paranoia. You got to wonder about, who saw you on camera, which, by the way, it is almost impossible to do a crime nowadays. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. If you stand at the average intersection in any city, any major city, even if it's like a bumfuck town, it doesn't matter. There's cameras there. And even if there's not cameras there, there's a camera facing outwards from a store or a supermarket or a 24-hour gas station. It doesn't matter. Like, you're constantly being watched. How the fuck are you going to get away with a crime today? It is almost impossible. That's my message for today. Crime doesn't pay. And actually, one of the main reasons why I did this podcast about this subject is because I like to feel two very good stories that people always bug me about and they always want to hear. Now, a lot of people know about the first story. Not a lot of people know about the second story. So I'm just going to get these two stories out of the way, out of my life forever. This way, when someone ever wants to listen to the story, don't bother me when I'm at a bar or at a family gathering or in front of my mother. Just listen to the podcast, listen to this show, and you'll get your answers. Now, like I said, two major situations happened in my life where, I guess I must have been pretty much out of my mind. I think about it some days and I think to myself, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking at this time. I mean, at the time, I guess I just wanted to make extra money, or in the second case, it was more about just making rent, very quick. And I just said, fuck it. I really didn't care. So the first situation involves me working at a supermarket. Now, this supermarket, it's a pretty well-known supermarket. I'm not gonna lie, you know. Uh, I mentioned my mom before. My mom helped me get this job. She thought it was a good idea for me to work at this supermarket. And I was like, sure, might as well. We've got nothing else to do. At this age, I think, still being in school, high school that was, or that is, whatever it's called. As you can see, I wasn't very well educated. Bye bye, doctor. So I figured, okay, you know what? I better work and just make some money. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. So at this grocery store, I was mostly in charge of the milk and, pop and chip aisle. And I wanted extra hours, and they eventually put me to the organic section. Now, for those of you who actually know me, for the 20 people that actually listen to this and actually know me, me in an organic section, I mean, if you don't see the irony there, you never will. But I was like, yeah, why not? I might as well just, take these extra hours. And then, it was a very boring job. I mean, I worked with a lot of, I worked with some cool people. Some people were cool. The one boss I actually had, he was a really nice guy. I remember even having the Christmas party. He bought me a drink, and yeah, he was just a good dude. He was actually one of the few good bosses I've ever actually had in my life. I worked with some angry people there. I remember working with one manager. He was talking to me, and I had my hands in my pocket, and he kept reaching for my arms and taking my hands out of my pocket, and I'm like, dude, this is, I mean, if this is today, you'd be screwed. I mean back then, he was a weirdo anyway. But the point is, it was very boring, very boring. There was even one dude that was very angry. He was he's one of these dudes that just always came into work angry, always had that scowl, of anger, And I just even knew ahead of time, I knew me and him were gonna, eventually have it out. One time he passed by one of my aisles. He told me, do it this way. I basically told him, go fuck yourself. And he's like, what'd you say? I'm like, you fucking heard me, and I'm not afraid of you, whatever. I mean, you look like Buzz from Home Alone, whatever, go fuck yourself. And then we almost got into it there. People broke it up, whatever, who cares? I think he was having sex with some woman there that was 30 years old or something, or no, 30 years older than him. I don't know. He had mom issues. The point is, it was a very boring job, and there was nothing else to do. Now, at the time, I was working actually somewhere else as well, part-time at this, power plant. And, during lunch there, we'd always shoot the shit and whatever. And I, told the guys there I worked at this, magical grocery store. And, somebody made a joke saying, if it's so boring, you should just take stuff and just, I'm like, whoa, what do you mean just take stuff? I can't just take stuff. He's like, nah, just whatever. I mean, you get a chocolate bar, something like that, or if some of us need groceries or whatever, you could just take that. So I'm like, huh. And then I kind of laughed it off after, but then I thought to myself I'm in high school, I'm working a very shitty job, I'm making $7.10 an hour. That's another thing. The pay was absolutely horrible. I mean, even for the time being, it was just horrible pay. I remember, I think at one point it got up to $7.50, but who gave a shit? I didn't even collect my pay stubs. I mean, I remember there was one time where I was there for a bit, and they just left the pay stubs in front there of the main customer service desk, and I never collected them, and they gave me a whole stack, or something. And I was just like, okay, whatever, man, just throw them out. Who cares? So I was like, all right, And I was like, what? I look around, and I'm like, the shifts I worked were always 5 to 9. Now, this is where, again, I'm not condoning crime, don't get me wrong, but when you're young and dumb and full of, you do stupid shit. And, I but at the same time, I had this mentality where I was like, okay, but like I said before, I worked 5 to 9, and after 5, I mean, they got the main office and upstairs there, and the lights were off, and a lot of the cameras in there, I would say at least half the cameras in there were dummy cameras, which a lot of people don't even realize. They're just there for show. I mean, you'll learn in life. Okay, you see a camera, you're kind of like, oh shit, what the fuck. I would say now more days, people have the camera that goes straight to their cell phone. So I mean, that's just more convenient for them. But I mean, back in the day, like we didn't have this technology, whatever, and you just see a camera, you're like, oh shit, okay, I better not steal. But then I found out, yeah, like half of them were like dummy cameras. Managers left. The video was on like a 11, 12 hour loop or something. So, yeah. And yeah, basically, long story short, I took a couple things. I'm not gonna lie. I started off with like chocolate bars and bags of chips, and it was funny because at one point, like at home, my closet, it basically looked like I've never been to jail, but I remember that like one scene in. There's an old movie called Slam, this guy went to jail, whatever. But then they show like the dude who has all the commissary. So they, show this guy, under his bed, he's got all this like chips and chocolate, and that's basically what it looked like in my closet. I mean, it was just, I was like, I got the munchies for something. It's right there. It's perfect. So, yeah, I was like, hey, I feel like some fortune cookies. There you go, sweet. And then it got to a point where, I'd take little, things of meat or something, like, if I had a craving for shrimp or something, I'd take a shrimp bag, whatever. And, yeah, I did that as well. And I remember one time I went to work and I had just a container full of shrimp. I mean, everyone was just eating a sandwich or whatever. I'm sitting there like King Tut there, working on my, my fat folds here. And then, again, I think of the idea and I talked to a couple people in there, and they helped me set up, kind of a whole little thing, what actually worked out perfect because what happened was where I worked, the other place where I worked, it was literally not even like a 5-minute drive away. So everything just like all the crime stars were aligned. So I started taking orders, like literally orders, like some chicken, steak, and rack of lamb. I actually one time I took a whole lamb leg, and I thought to myself, wow, this lamb really just died for me, and I had to keep that in mind. And yeah, it was it was good extra pay. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the sad thing was, like I said, the pay was so bad. I mean, it was like $7.10 an hour. It was shit, absolute shit. Like, I'd work a 4-hour shift, and after taxes, I think I made $21 for 4 hours work. I mean, like even back then, that was shit, And I got to a point where they'd give me extra hours, and I just said no because I knew the timing of everything, the cameras when everyone left. I knew 5 to 9 was like the perfect shift. So I just stuck with that. And yeah, everything worked out great. So I would like work there, make like $21 for 4 hours, but I make, at least an extra, 50, $60. And, I made it a little bit worth my while, I guess, So yeah, I mean, that was working out pretty good. I remember one time, this is probably the most I ever took there. My one buddy, he wanted a turkey for Thanksgiving. So I'm like, okay, how big of a turkey do you want? He's like, dude, find me the biggest one you can. So I don't know if you guys are aware of the company Butterball. I think it's an American company, whatever. But anyways, I can't tell you how much this turkey weighed. I can't tell you that. It was pretty big, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we're talking like, maybe it wasn't as big as like the one that Mr. Bean had on his head, but it was pretty fucking big. And I can tell you that it cost, it cost $92, $93, something like that. And the funny thing was I had an old knapsack. The thing kept like it had a shitty zipper. It kept popping in and out of the thing while I was in the store. I mean, like I said, like I look back on this and I think I must have been out of my fucking mind. Like I'm paranoid now just going into a store and just even thinking about taking something. Not that I would, not I'm grown now, but I think back when that happened, and I'm like, this is fucking crazy. And yeah, but like normally, I would just take whatever meats. Sometimes they didn't have like the stickers on them yet, and then that was the thing. They'd come in last minute, and I would just take them. Um, I had another buddy there. It was pretty funny at the time. I think J-Lo just came out with her own perfume, whatever, and it was a whole like rack just dedicated to that. And my buddy there, I mean, there must have been like fucking 60, 70 containers there. We went past the rack, there was like 4 left, and everybody in the store, like everyone, had a good code, whatever, don't snitch, all that shit. But like we all went up to him and like, dude, like, we get it, you want to take some shit, but you got to put a lot of them back or else it looks bad. Like we're all gonna fucking be fucked here, right? So uh, but at the same time, I would take stuff for him. He wanted some dog food or something. He'd hook me up with DVDs, whatever. So, but anyways, yeah, so that went on for a while. Another big order I did, like I said before, like the other place I worked at. So yeah, why I mentioned that before is because when I was finished my shift, I would just stock up on all the stuff. And I could drive over there in 5 minutes. It was perfect because they had their last break around that time. I called my buddies inside. They would tell everybody, come outside. I open my trunk and it's like, Merry Christmas. So, I always took care of them. I always got them some extra stuff, because they hooked me up, whatever, So basically it's like whatever the price tag was, it was like half off. So if a steak was like $20, $10, boom, that's it. Yeah, I remember one time, like, they wanted a really big order, like, oh man, I want shrimp and all this shit, whatever, right? And I don't think they expected me to get it that fast, but I saw an opportunity. And again, yeah, I got a lot of shit. And, I remember that night, they were kind of like scrambling to get the money too. They were like, oh my God, man, like, we didn't think you'd get it this fast, But again, everything always worked out. So yeah, I did this for quite a while. And, I really didn't think of like cops watching me or anybody watching me. But then one day I'm going to my car and it was a weird parking lot in a sense where they had like a one main parking lot. And then on the side, they had this like little parking lot. Maybe it was meant for, yeah, I mean, maybe it was just extra parking. Maybe it was just meant for the staff or whatever, because they had a bench there for us and all that. I don't know, who knows. But then I usually park there, and like all the way at the back there, I saw 2 black cars. And I thought to myself, like, this kind of looks suspicious. I was like, this doesn't look right. But then again, I didn't think much of it. I was just out of my mind. So then, I keep, doing this shit for a little bit more, and there was one night where I didn't have any orders or anything, so I just got some bullshit stuff for myself. I'm talking everything from like cashews to, toothpaste, toothbrush, whatever, because you can't have one without the other, of course. It's only right. So it was late at night, and I'm going to my car. I whip the keys out, literally about to put the key into the keyhole. And then all of a sudden, the 2 black cars were there. Same black cars. They lit up. They had like the big lights on front. One car pulled up on the left. Another car pulled up on the right. And it was extremely bright. I remember that. Like the lights were extremely bright because it was a really dark parking lot. Like even with the street lights, whatever. And both cars stop. They're still running, and this huge black guy pops out. I mean, this guy's got to be like 6'7", 6'8". And I remember, I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he just goes, "Loss prevention." Can I see a bag, please? Now, at this part of the story, I am absolutely frozen. I'm like, what? And he goes again. Loss prevention. Can I see a bag, please? And I'm just like playing dumb. Now, the one thing I always did that was, I guess, kind of smart is I always tried to put my stuff in the actual grocery bags that were there. So at least no one can give me shit or whatever. You throw out the receipt, whatever. I think I was fucking John Gotti or something. And, I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, you could check him out. But yeah, and I'm kind of murmuring just, to him. I was just like, yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. And then, like, he stops. He goes, look, I know you stole it. And he's just, going through the bags and whatever. And it's funny because another guy pops out of the car, and it was like this little Indian guy. He had like huge glasses. I mean, this guy couldn't have been taller than 5'2", whatever. He has a clipboard. He's not saying anything. So then I always thought to myself, like, if I ever do get, potentially arrested or whatever, if I'm questioned by the cops or whatever, I'm like, I'm going to keep my head high. I'm just going to pretend, again, I was out of my mind. I'm just going to pretend I'm the man. I'm just, going to put my chest out and, I'm just going to pretend it's all good, whatever. So, yeah, we're walking to the store, I'm just, I'm walking like I'm, Superman or whatever. And we go all the way upstairs to the office there. And, they laid out all the stuff in the bag. And to me, it was kind of funny because, it could have been way worse. Like I said, I was just getting basic stuff from me. I think the stuff I took was maybe under $100. Like I said, I took like cashews that were like organic cashews, I mean, that's another thing. Like when you're like a criminal or when you have a criminal mentality, I think sometimes like when you have an addiction to stealing, I'm not saying I do, but I'm just saying, I think sometimes like when you just get on a roll, you just steal whatever you can. Like you don't really give a shit. And it's so, like, honestly, I think back now, it's so pathetic. I mean, I don't know, I probably wouldn't have eaten those cashews. I mean, they didn't have salt on them or nothing. But anyways, so they're just laying out all the stuff, and they had to take a picture of me. Now, what's funny is I was still wearing the shirt from work. I guess I was that lazy. I didn't even change. And it was funny because like it was a black and yellow shirt, long sleeve shirt, and I had long hair at the time. I had a beard. I didn't give a shit about grooming at that time. And I just remember seeing the picture after, and it was really funny. Like I looked like, the best way to describe it is like if you ever see those old Saturday Night Live skits where they all dressed up as bees, like that's what I looked like. It basically looked like John Belushi dressed up as a bee, like except with the antennas. Like that's what I looked like. It's so bad. But anyways, crime is not funny, guys. Please, just laugh with me, not at me. So anyways. Yeah, so I'm in the office there, and I'm just sitting down, and he's there, the big black guy, the little Indian guy's there, and I don't know what they're talking about. I just remember one point the big black guy says, what are you talking about? The little Indian guy, he's my boss. He's my boss. I'm just like, okay, so he controls him, whatever. I don't know, who knows. So then. I think to myself, like, okay, so like the boss is on his way up. I could be potentially arrested. I'm screwed. I got like my parents' car on me. How can this situation get any worse? And as I said that, I put both of my hands on each one of my thighs, and then I realized in my pocket, I got weed on me, and it was like a 20 sack, whatever, and ironically, actually. I had gum that I stole as well in my pocket. And at the time, like we used to have a thing called film in cameras. For those of you that are under 20, I'll explain, that another time. But they used to, put film in an actual big ass camera and used to take pictures. I know it's crazy, right? But those containers, those clear containers are really cool because they really like just, snapped in, really tight, and that's where I put my weed, because nothing would get out, it wouldn't dry out or nothing. So I'm like, oh shit, what do we do here? So then like my boss walks in. This little guy, by the way. I don't know. I mean, this guy was kind of he wasn't a bad guy. He was kind of a shit disturber at the same time. And I remember there was one time where I was in like even in the back, like just packing stuff, and like he peeked like out of the wall, like kind of like the Three Stooges did. And he was just like a weird guy, but he had like a quadruple bypass or something. So I just wanted to take it easy on him, whatever. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal, I guess. I don't know. Like at the time, I used my dad's like earpiece, and it was funny because like at the time it looked like a hearing aid or something. And for weeks, like people just believed it was a hearing aid. I made a joke out of it, and I was like, "Oh shit, cool." Because again, it's boring. You gotta listen to the radio, whatever. So, anyways, he's coming up there. He's explaining to the things, whatever. He looks at me. I kind of just shrug, like, "What do you want me to do?" Shitty pay. So like he's literally like 3 feet ahead of me here, in front of the desk there. I'm on one side, he's on the other. The two dudes are there. And then I'm like, okay, shit. So quickly, I didn't even know I pulled this off. I just took the weed out of the container and I just stuffed the whole thing in my mouth. Now, if anybody's ever actually tried raw weed, it is fucking disgusting. It is. I mean, okay, you got to put in a brownie or something, but it sucks, man. It tastes fucking horrible. And I pretty much most of it. And then I couldn't even get it all down. And then again, I had the stolen gum in my pocket. And so I took a couple gums there and I threw the gums in with the weed. So I'm chewing the weed with the gum. And it's just this minty, moldy taste. And I took the actual pack of the gum. I just spit the whole thing out at one point and I threw it in the garbage. Yeah, so then, tall black guy, the small Indian guy leave. And then 2 police officers come. And actually, I remember this now. Hold on. Actually, this is one of the stupidest things you could probably say in front of a cop once you do something this stupid like I did. So they're just like taking their notes and whatever. And I just try to say something to like make myself look like innocent, I guess. And I go, guys, I'm not a criminal. And then there's like a good 5-second pause. They start laughing, I start laughing, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, guys. I mean, like what are you gonna do, right? So I thought that was pretty funny. If you can make cops laugh, I mean, that's a good sign. Hopefully, but yeah. So then at one point, I'm just talking to them. I'm just like, okay, so guys, just be honest with me. How bad is this? And he goes like, it's as bad as stealing a big screen TV. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. So because I don't know if it's changed now, but if you let's say if you take a chocolate bar, from a store, it literally is just as bad as stealing $1,000. Like that's basically what he was trying to tell me, because it's all 1,000 under or whatever, right? So yeah, it's just as bad. And I'm like, all right. I at the time, again, I'm not gonna say the person's name, but I knew somebody that might have been high up in the cops, and I wanted to say, okay, I should know better. This person tried to teach me, and the cops are like, well, how do you think that person would, feel if they saw you now? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it would feel pretty bad, It was almost like I was on a PBS special or something, like Sesame Street or something. But yeah, and then at one point, again, they're just taking their notes, whatever. And then at one point, the one police officer said, is your last name? And he said my last name, and I go, yeah, why? And he goes, oh no, just curious. And again, there's an awkward pause. Like I didn't follow up on that. Like I didn't, whatever, right? And yeah, I didn't want to tell any more jokes. I didn't want to get myself into more shit or anything like that. I didn't want to say anything stupid like oh, okay, worst case, can I still keep the stuff? But yeah, so actually they should good lenience on me, to be completely honest. I didn't expect this, but they said, listen, we're going to give you whatever, a citation or whatever. At this time in a couple months, you have to show up at this police station, get your fingerprints. If not, there's going to be a warrant out for your arrest, blah, blah, blah. You know, because in my head, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to arrest me. They're going to tow the car. I'm screwed. So, yeah, you know, that's basically what happened. I assume that meant I was fired from the job, but I'll get more into that in a little bit. Yeah, so again, they didn't take the car, nothing. They just, you know, show up here, whatever, it's cool. So then, you know, months go by, you know, or like a month went by or something like that. I show up to a police station, you know, get my fingerprints, you know, quick, whatever there, you know, the whole ink thing and everything. So yeah, I did that. And then after that, they said like 2-3 months later, you have to show up, you know, actually in court, and, you know, we'll find out what happens there. And, you know, of course, it's my first time in court. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen. My one buddy at the time, he worked with me there. And he said, you know what, I'll come with you. You know, I just, you know, yeah, man, all right, cool, man. Thanks for the support. You know, it's like having my own Greek lawyer. So basically, yeah, we go there. We had to go to like a certain courthouse, whatever. You know, like, all right, that's cool. And what I didn't know was, like, in front of every courthouse, they have like a sheet of paper of, you know, the people's names that are going to be announced. Now, my buddy knew that. I didn't, obviously. So my buddy goes up to the sheet, and he didn't see my name on there, you know. And he's like, "Are you sure this is the right thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, look, it's on the paper, everything like that. It's all good." So I'm like, "All right, you know, let's just wait here and see what happens." So we showed up there at 9 a.m. You know, again, like I said before, I've never been to court before. I got dressed up. People were showing up there in like guinea tees and, you know, like whatever. You know, people didn't give a shit. I don't know. Anyways, so I go there 9 a.m. I remember one funny thing. Actually, a couple of funny things that happened. One guy, I remember he just entered the courtroom, and like he was the only guy in like the little space there, and like he drops a joint like right in front of like everybody, the lawyer, and he's like, whoops, you know. So I was like, this is like a free-for-all, like nobody cares here. And then there was like another guy there, you know, he was being tried, and they kept mispronouncing his name like literally like 10 times, and like, you know, the guy had a right to get pissed off, because like everybody in the courtroom was like, dude, this is how you say his name. And like the one lawyer that was making fun of him, or not making fun of him, but just like just couldn't get his name right. Like he had like a huge fro. It was just crazy, you know. He almost looked like a, you know, an evil villain or something from the, you know, the old school Batman. And you know, the one guy, he looked more you know, more country, let's just say that. And he was getting really pissed off, like, you know, dude, this is my fucking name, you know, whatever. And then like as he was leaving, he swore. I was, oh, what did that guy say, you know? And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking crazy. So I was there between 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. My name wasn't called. I think it was like an hour for lunch or something, you know. And then we came back 1 o'clock. And they just called all the remainder people there, and it was about 1:30, and they still didn't call my name. And then the person said, okay, if your name has not been announced, come up to the front. I'm like, okay. So I think it was one person before me. Yeah, they went, and then I went. I was literally the last person. And I always remember this too, like, anybody who's ever seen the movie Goodfellas, remember when the first time he goes to court and he calls his name and he goes, yeah, that's me. And he just stands right in front of the judge, like he doesn't know where to go. I did the exact same thing. I had no idea where to stand. So I look like an idiot. Like I go right in front there. And then the lawyer's just like, no, just come here, dickhead. Okay, yeah, cool. So then, you know, the one representative, whatever there, he just says, look, okay, you showed up here. The people or the cops, whatever, who didn't or did the report there, whatever, they didn't put your name in the thing, which means I'm free. And I was like, really? You sure? He's like, yeah, yeah. No, just, he's like, yeah, yeah, because the judge was, he was explaining this all this to him, and then I go under, my breath, to the guys the judge is talking. I was like, so this is like, he's like, like what happens now? He's like, no, don't worry, I'll explain outside. Don't worry. I was like, okay. He's doing his thing where I'm like, I'm just shutting up, whatever, I'm not getting more shit. And the judge signed the piece of paper I had, and he and then it was done. I go outside, talk to the lawyer. He says, listen, yeah, again, it just wasn't done right, and you're good. I was like, wow, okay, cool, thank you. And yeah, that's it. Now, again, this is not the best story to say that crime doesn't pay, because it makes it sound like I got away with this shit. And I did, but you know what? People are not that lucky. So I'm telling you, okay? Lightning does not strike twice, which explains my second story involving crime. Involving crime. Why am I trying to sound so serious about this? I don't know. It's just, I'm just telling stories here. Fighting crime in a future time. Cops. Roll call. Sorry, that is a early, I want to say early 90s reference to a cool cartoon show called Cops. If you ever have the chance, check it out. I'm actually very glad that show didn't get any bigger than what it was, because then Michael Bay would have done another shitty movie about it and ruined it like he did the Turtles and Transformers and God only knows what else he's got planned. Oh, God. If he touches Thundercats. Anyways, let me continue. So, the second time I did another stupid crime wasn't really because I was just out of my mind, adolescent. It was just more because I was in a tight spot. I needed some quick cash. I needed some money for rent. I wasn't working as much due to not finding enough work and being lazy. And my one buddy just moved out. I said to him, you want to move out? That's cool. I'll take the other half of the rent, and I'll just make the whole thing mine. Boy, was I stupid. So, that didn't last very long, and it got to a point where, I needed some quick money. I want to do a crime, I guess. I didn't want to do a crime, but I was like, okay, this is the only thing I can really figure out. So I was like, okay, my one buddy at the time, I talked to him and his brother, and I met up with him in a restaurant bar, in the area, and we just talked about how can we pull this off. And I don't know, they must have thought they were in a movie too, because at one point I'm talking to my buddy, and he just says something like, all right, this is how it's gonna go. And then he gets up, he leaves, and then his brother just sits down. I'm like, the fuck is going on here? But anyways, so then he's telling me the whole thing too. We're all drinking, smoking, whatever, just having a good time. And I told him about my background, how I've dabbled in some acting, and basically the scam was this. I go into certain places, and I pretend I'm a businessman, and I order some products, just simple things, things that you'd use for construction, construction sites, some materials, stuff like that, very simple stuff. So when I went in there, into these places, I basically looked like Michael Douglas in Fallen. I really nerded it up, which for me at the time was not that hard anyway, but I did it even more, if that's even possible. And, I remember the first one I went in, I was just playing up the part. I went up to the desk there, And I said, yeah, I need certain parts. I need certain materials. Can you hook me up? I'm doing my own business, and I would really appreciate if you'd help me out. Like, yeah, sure, no problem. One freaky thing though, and I'll always remember this, is I looked behind me, and in middle school, I had a French teacher that was just I mean, he was just a prick. I mean, there's no easy way to say it. He just, yeah, if some kid was doing bad or just, I don't know. He was just a dick to me. He was a dick to a lot of other people too. And, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I looked behind me and I saw him wearing the store uniform. So clearly, in this, I guess years later, I guess maybe he got in trouble, maybe he needed extra money, maybe he went through a couple divorces. I don't know, but this guy ended up working right there. Now, obviously, he didn't recognize me. I kind of just, was turning my head and whatever and making sure he didn't see me. But I don't think he would have recognized me anyway. But yeah, I'll just always remember that. So that's why I'm always a big believer in karma. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, so yeah, the whole point of this scam was that we had our own fake checks and the holograms, all that shit, whatever. I personally think I played the role perfectly. I think everything went fine, but the problem is they couldn't process the checks, and this was always a problem, and I started getting frustrated with, the people I worked with, that's another thing that I just want to point out as well. Like when you do a crime, you better know who you are working with, and even if you do know who you're working with, like you don't know like who's gonna go nuts. You don't know who's gonna, be loyal. Like like you don't even know who's gonna even show up. You know what I mean? Like I think of movies like Heat. Heat is a good example with Al Pacino, De Niro, the boys there. He like Robert De Niro. He wants to have a good team, and for the most part, he's got a pretty good team. Now, obviously, he didn't expect Al Pacino to know all the shit ahead of time, whatever. But there's a flip side to that coin. Sorry. Anyways, but yeah, but also you got to think of a movie like Reservoir Dogs, like Mr. Yellow. Like nobody knew that he was gonna go nuts in there. You know what I mean? So, you just got to know who you're working with. Now, I'm not going to lie. At the time, I knew these guys. I didn't really know these guys. I didn't. At the time, a lot of people do crimes because they're just desperate. A lot of people are just nuts about doing crimes because they just want to do it just for the fuck of it. Some people are just desperate. That's why they do crimes, That's why you see a lot of these stupid fucks on YouTube here. I mean, they'll rob a store or they'll go through the ceiling. They'll take a lottery ticket, and then the next day they show up at the same store to cash the lottery ticket. I mean, some people are just fucking stupid. But again, just know who you're working with. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So again, like I was saying before, like these checks were just not going through. Something to do with the hologram or whatever. It just wasn't. It was just insane. And for me, it was getting really frustrated. It got to a point where like they thought I was doing something wrong. I'm like, dude, what the fuck am I doing wrong? I'm going in there. I'm acting the part. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, I look like a fat Harry Potter here. Like, what more do you want me to do? So, like we went into a big argument with the car. I was ready to jump out of the car. I was like, fuck this, man. I don't need this shit. And the other guy's like, okay, chill, So, know who you're working with. But anyways, finally one of the checks worked. And, it wasn't a lot of stuff I got at that one store. They wanted me to get more stuff. I was just thankful that the thing actually fucking worked after like 3-4 tries or whatever. But what was really crazy though was once it worked, I was on my way to the parking lot and they were loading up the shit. And then the one lady, she runs out and she's holding this long ass receipt. Now I thought she was like, gonna bust us or something. But she's like, no, you forgot to, mark this part. I'm like, oh shit, thank God. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, we kept doing that for a little bit. But again, like a lot of times it just wouldn't work and it was so fucking frustrating. And it got to a point where we were like, okay, let's just regroup. Let's, figure out something, yeah, whatever. We'll figure this shit out in like a week or two. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So then in the meantime, I was working with their one buddy, which fuck, I mean, I barely knew these guys. I didn't know this guy at all. But again, you're young, dumb, and full of cum, and you just fucking say fuck it. You just do it. You're in desperate need of money. You're like, screw it, whatever. So we did something a little bit more different. We had, some fake cards. So we're like, okay. And I'll be honest with you, I'm actually thinking about this now, and I haven't thought about this in a very long time. And this might be one of the stupidest things I've ever done in my life. But again, I was desperate for money. That's the excuse I'm going to use. He made me a fake driver's license, but it didn't have my signature on it. And what he wanted me to do was he just literally gave me a black marker, and I just signed the back of it like that. Now at the time I was like, oh, I don't know, man, this is not gonna work. So then, I was like, again, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. Whatever. Let's just get this over with. I didn't even know what part of town I was in, but anyways, so I go to this one place, I do the thing again, and I go in the store, whatever, order up a bunch of stuff, whatever, and I'm at the front desk there, and there's like a separate part of the desk where it's like the dark glass, whatever, and there, obviously it's there just to cover up like, personal information and all that, right? And in my head, I'm like, you know what, I should bounce, because they even told me if you feel something, whatever, not right, then you should leave. And I'm like, yeah, I should leave, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, it looks like it's almost done, and then I'm standing there, and then I look behind me, and who comes into the store? 2 police officers. Why? Because 2 is always better than 1. So, they're like, hey, how you doing? You're this. They're asking me this. They're asking me the birthday, and I don't know anything. Again, I look back at this and I think, yeah, I'm fucking stupid. I can't believe I actually went through this shit. And obviously she called it in. She knew it was fake. It didn't look right, whatever. I assume at this point my buddy's in Mexico. And I'm just, going up to the parking lot, whatever. I got my phone on me. The phone rings. The cop, takes the phone. He starts talking to the guy, and of course, the guy's. I'm assuming my buddy, he's just playing dumb, whatever. And they put the handcuffs on me. They, being arrested, all that stuff. I'm in the back of the car there. And I always remember this, like, it was a classic, like, it just basically reminded me of the movie Colors with Sean Penn and Robert Duvall. It was like the classic, like, angry cop, good cop. Except it was the other way around. Like, the cool cop was, like, very, he seemed kind of young, or younger, whatever. And then the older cop, like, he just didn't give a fuck. He was just like, fucking, I don't give a shit. I'm getting fucking triple overtime for this. This is fucking shit, nothing to me. Like, he's just going off, whatever, right? And what's crazy is, like, now, remember the classic SNL picture of the Bumblebee? I'm in the car. They pull up my file, and that picture, boom, just shows up on their laptop. And I'm like, holy shit, you guys have that picture? It's like, yeah, it's in our system. I'm just like, oh my God, I look like shit. I look like, it just looks bad. I mean, like, who's the guy's name? And Nick Nolte in Prince of Tides, great movie. The last 10 minutes is kind of, stupid. But anyways, so like remember his like picture or whatever. And it wasn't as bad as that, but it was like I was in a shit, my hair's all fucked up, whatever. I'm just looking at this picture like, oh my God, I can't believe they have this picture in their file. So and then I'm just dumb. I'm just like trying to like relate to the cops. I'm like, okay, guys, how do I become a police officer? And actually the one younger guy was nice. He was just like telling me like, this is what you do and all that, whatever. And It was a short drive to the police station there, and it was hard for me. See, again, like I don't know if anybody's ever been handcuffed out there, but when you're handcuffed, especially if you're a big guy, it is hard to move, man. Like it is hard to move, period, when you're a big guy. So they're like helping me, out of the car there, or whatever, and they put me in this. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't that big of a room, maybe 15 by 15. Like it wasn't even like a jail cell. They just put me in. Like, I think it was like a drunk tank or something. But like right in the middle was like one of those like old school desks where it's like a chair and desk in one. And and what sucked is like at the time I wore glasses, so for some reason they wouldn't let me wear my glasses. I have no idea why. I don't know. Maybe they thought I really wanted to read in there or something. But and then they took my shoelaces, took my belt, and the glasses. And I need my glasses to see, man, at the time. And I was in there for like 8 hours. I had a huge headache after because I was just straining and everything was blurry. And, I was like, I had my face like right at the desk just to, read some, funny shit. There was some joke there about Madonna. I forgot what it was. But anyways, I think at one point the woman came back in there. She's like, hey, you want some pizza pockets? I'm like, nah, I'm good. At the time, I was like, not paranoid, but I was like, I don't know what the fuck these guys are going to give me. And then I could call legal counseling on the phone there. They're just like, okay, just let it process. And then, da-da-da-da-dee, whatever. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, like, when I first went in there was like a really old cop. He seemed pretty tall for a guy that was sitting down. But anyways, I was just being processed, whatever, and he was, just, he was very old school, you could tell. Like, you could tell this guy's been doing it for at least, like, 30, 40 years or something, and I was like, state your name here, put the, your stuff here, you'll be detained here, da, da, da. So then, again, I had no idea where I was. Like, this is all, I really think about it. I must have been out of my mind back then. But anyways, I'm better now, guys, I swear. So... I know. So after 8 hours, they like let me go. But like, oh no, but again, like before they let me go, again, I had no idea where I was. So I'm asking God, like, where am I? Like, am I close to like a station or whatever? And like, I was literally, honestly, on like the opposite end of the city. I kind of lucked out because it was like the last like subway station close to there. I was like, oh, thank God, because if I was like out of town, I'd be fucked. So then, I'm there, and like when they process you, they got you there with the dude and they got you in front of the TV there. You can see yourself there, whatever. And, he's like, okay, you got everything you need. You know, why we're letting you go. Do you have any questions? And I think like maybe he thought I was trying to be a dick about this, but like in my head I was thinking to myself, okay, all I have is like a $5 bill on me, and I need change to like get on the bus. So I go, yeah. Do you have any? Do you have change for a $5? And he just goes, no, and he just leaves. I think he was like so pissed off at me. But anyways, so then thank God, like next door was a Wendy's. I got a small fry and I got some change. Ate some fries, and. Yeah, again, it was one of those things where you had to wait a month. I guess a couple years later, the technology, upgraded because instead of doing the whole ink print thing, they got the lasers and stuff, And I even told the guy, oh, wow, you guys upgraded the lasers. Cool, and then like a couple months later, I had to go to court again. My buddy was not with me. I just went in there by myself. Again, I got dressed. A bunch of guys. Like that's another thing. Like you show up to court and like you think you got to dress in a suit and everything. I don't know. Everybody's in like fucking hoodies and shit. Like, so anyways, I'm there, and I should mention that I did talk to my buddies beforehand. I told them the situation, what happened. I got busted, whatever. And this is where, they set me up with one of their lawyers, and they told me, okay, he's a good guy, he'll hook you up and all that, he'll get you through the thing. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. So then I go to the court there, and, I thought my buddies were taking care of this. I thought that was part of our deal. And, he goes to me, he says, look, okay, I need $1,500 from you. I'm like, what? I don't know, 1,500. I don't know, like that's 1,500 I don't have, dude. So he's like, all right, give me half now and half later. So I'm like, all right, I had to work out something, whatever, and he he did help me. It cost me 1,500 that I did not have, but yeah, he got me a situation where I didn't have to face any time, and I just had to do some. I think it was only like 40 hour. Oh no, sorry, I had to pay a $250 fine, and I had to do 40 hours community service. So yeah, I got off pretty light there. So I say 1,500 because if you include the lawyer fees, the the all the TDC money and all that, and the giving up the 250 there, it basically that whole experience cost me 1,500. So I thought it was interesting though. At one point, he leaned over to me, and I always want people to remember this. I'm not saying this to boast or anything like that, but at one point he leaned over to me, like when I was talking to him before we went into the court, and he said, you can get less if you name names. And I said, dude, I'm not naming names. I'll pay whatever it takes. I'm not naming names. I'm one of these people. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. So I figured worst case scenario, I just learned from this. I guess they're getting me back from, the first thing I did years ago, and yeah, fuck it, I'm not doing that. So like, all right. So then, yeah, like I said, I had to do the community service. Now, I had 3 months to do the community service. I thought to myself, okay, I'm just gonna call Goodwill, whatever. I'll do it like the last week, whatever. I just let time go on. I thought, they need volunteers for anything, whatever. And then I called Goodwill. And they said, yeah, you got to register. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to process. I'm like, whoa, 4 to 6 weeks to volunteer? Like, yeah, it's old. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm like, oh, God, dude, I don't have 4 to 6 weeks, like, I got a month to go here. I got to, do some hours. So then the person told me, okay, go on this website. You're going to see a list of people that need volunteer work. Now, again, I'm telling you, I got some kind of angel looking after me. I look at this list. The first number that was literally on the list, I called. I talked to the person who was some kind of community building, whatever, like a library, whatever, something like that. And, they were like, okay, yeah, we could use you. We'll put you 8 hours here, 4 hours there. Don't worry, we'll get you your time. So, and they were really nice to me there. I got to give them props for sure. I mean, yeah, they were just really nice. I didn't have to do that much. I mean, within the 40 hours, I probably did maybe 20 hours worth of work. I mean, there was a day where I worked there 12 hours, but I did nothing. Like, they just said, oh, yeah, we need you for a guard, for the party. But it was just a little gathering of, like, 15, 20 people that were over the age of 90, like, the fuck am I guarding? So, yeah, and they were super nice to me. And I even said, okay, I got to donate $250. I'll just give it to you guys. I mean, they were expecting like $10 or $20. So, I don't know, they must have shit their pants when they heard $250. Like, oh, that's nice of you. Thank you. Like, yeah, you're welcome. I don't want to go to jail. So, and then I go to, again, at the end of all that, I go to the court by myself, because I don't want to spend, $500 for a lawyer to say hello to me. I just told the judge, yeah, I did everything there, and then the counsel explained, yeah, he did everything there. I always remember this too, like the judge, like he looked like Larry Flint. It was funny. I always remember that because, like, if you watch the movie The People versus Larry Flint, like Larry Flint actually played the judge, ironically. So he just reminded me of that guy. He was very quiet, he's like, all right, he did his thing and that's it. So yeah, that, was not as lucky as the first time. And, I'll be damned if I'm going to do this shit again. After that, I changed. I went to a whole different industry there. And, told different industry that wasn't breaking the law. But anyways, quite the opposite, actually. But, yeah, so... all I'm trying to say is throughout all this silliness, I know it can get pretty crazy out there, but don't break the law, okay? Because I'm living proof that crime doesn't pay.